You've been there, right? You give an instruction, you think it's crystal clear, and all you get back are blank stares. Total confusion. It happens to literally everyone, whether you're a teacher, a manager, or just, trying to explain something to a friend. So today, we're going to break down the art and science of giving instructions that actually work. Let's dive in and go from total confusion to crystal clarity.
I mean, does this sound familiar? This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's that frustrating feeling when a simple 5-second instruction somehow balloons into a 5-minute cleanup job. We've all felt that. And it's a huge sign that the problem wasn't comprehension, it was the communication. The whole thing started with the instruction itself.
And look, the stakes are way higher than you might think. We're not just talking about wasting a minute or two here. A single bad instruction, it's like tipping over the first domino. It can totally derail an entire activity. The confusion spills over into the next task, and before you know it, the whole thing just collapses.
All right, so first up, the ripple effect. We're going to dig into why these small miscommunications can cause some really big problems. It's all about that chain reaction. Okay, so it's one thing to know the problem, but what we really need is the solution. And that brings us to our second section, the clarity checklist. Think of this as the foundation for building instructions that are so simple, so direct, they're pretty much impossible to get wrong.
This slide is just a perfect illustration of the first big idea, chunking. I mean, look at the left side, under too complex. It's basically one giant brain dump in a single sentence. Our brains just aren't built to process all that at once. But now look at the right. By just breaking it down into 3 simple, single-action steps, the whole thing becomes clear and totally manageable.
And building on that idea of chunking, the sequence is absolutely everything. You have to give the steps in the exact order they need to happen. When you use simple words like first, then, and finally, you're basically creating a verbal roadmap. It lets people know what's coming next, so they don't have to try and hold the entire plan in their head all at once.
Okay, so this all comes together in your core checklist for how you actually deliver the instructions. First, just use simple language, no jargon. Second, make a conscious effort to speak just a little bit slower than you normally would. And listen, this isn't about being patronizing. It's about giving people's brains a second to catch up. And that leads to the next point, pause after each instruction. That little bit of silence is golden. It gives people a moment to process. And of course, keep your sentences short and please avoid going off on tangents. Just stick to the essentials.
Okay, here's a fantastic pro tip. Punch your keywords. What does that mean? It just means you vocally emphasize the most important words. So if it's absolutely critical that they write on the other side of the paper, you give that word some extra oomph. It's like you're using a verbal highlighter, pointing their attention right to the one detail they cannot afford to miss.
All right, so we've nailed the art of verbal delivery. But what if we could make our instructions even more foolproof? Well, that brings us to our third section, show, don't just tell. This is where we move past just talking and get into the real power of demonstration.
So let me just ask you this. What's even clearer than the most perfectly chosen words? Yeah, you guessed it, actually showing someone what you want them to do.
And here we've got 5 really powerful ways to demonstrate it can be super simple, right? Like just physically pointing to the task or holding up the exact materials they'll need. Or you can get a bit more involved, maybe do a worked example on the board, or even do a full demonstration yourself, kind of talking through what you're thinking as you do it. And hey, for anything interactive, a quick role play with a volunteer can clear up any confusion for the whole group in seconds.
At the end of the day, it really just comes down to this. Showing is almost always clearer than telling. When you demonstrate, you basically eliminate any room for misinterpretation. You're creating this shared visual model that everyone can see and refer back to. And that's just so much more powerful than words alone.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. Nobody's perfect. Even with all the best preparation in the world, sometimes an instruction is just it's gonna fall flat. And that's why our fourth section is all about troubleshooting. What to do when things go sideways.
So this is your safety net, and it's got 2 really important parts. First, you've got to become a detective. Start monitoring the room the second the activity starts. And second, you have to break the cycle. You got to avoid that trap of just repeating the same instruction that already didn't work. So what does monitoring actually look like? Well, you're looking for the quiet red flags. The hesitant student who isn't starting, that classic puzzled face, or that low buzz of confusion when people start whispering to their neighbors. Those are your early warning signs that something's gone wrong. And this slide just lays it all out, right? You've got 2 paths. The ineffective one is just chaos. You're playing whack-a-mole, running around, repeating the same bad instruction over and over again to every single person. The effective path? Stop. Just stop everything. Get everyone's attention back and re-give the instruction clearly one more time to the whole group. Just cut your losses and hit the reset button.
All right, now for our final section, we're getting into a really advanced, really powerful technique. We are going to completely flip the script, because this isn't just about you giving better instructions anymore. It's about empowering your learners to take the lead themselves.
That's right. The ultimate goal here? To make yourself obsolete. Seriously, the whole point is to build so much autonomy that the learners can confidently guide themselves and even each other without you.
And this is a brilliant, totally counterintuitive technique. Making mistakes on purpose. Just look at this dialogue. By getting the details wrong, the teacher is forcing the students to listen with laser focus and actually engage to correct the mistake. It turns passive listening into an active, fun game.
And you can build this autonomy up in stages. It doesn't have to happen all at once. You can start small, maybe by having learners read instructions right out of the book. Then you can step it up a notch by splitting instructions onto cards for different people to read out loud. And the final step, true ownership, is when you have them prepare and give the instructions for a task themselves.
So, as we wrap things up here, I want you to take a second and think about your own style. Where's your biggest opportunity for a quick win? Is it in the language you use, the complexity of your sentences, or maybe just your speed? The answer is going to be different for everyone, but just figuring out where to start, well, that's the first step toward not just being heard, but being truly, truly understood.